Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. I'm in Harlem, delighted to be joined by presidential candidate, Dr. Cornel West. Let's start with events of today. Boy, the International Criminal Court of Justice, they called for arrest warrants for Hamas leaders, but also Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Will apply for warrants for Prime Minister Netanyahu and also Minister of Defense Gallant for the crimes of causing extermination, causing starvation as a method of war, including the denial of humanitarian relief supplies, deliberately targeting civilians in conflict.
And Republicans and Democrats seem to be going ballistic. Also, your challenger, President Biden, has called that outrageous. He says that they are trying to equivocate or have it seem like similar Hamas and Netanyahu. What are your thoughts? Because I mean, there's been the UN, so many organizations and reporting indicating Israel has committed genocide in Gaza.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that genocide is taking place as we speak. I think one of the reasons why Joe Biden is so upset, because he's worried that they may come to his house. That I think he is a war criminal. He's not only a genocide enabler, but when he said yesterday that this is not genocide, he's a genocide denier. And we have to tell the truth. I don't say that out of any hatred of Biden. I say that out of his willingness to provide military support and financial support to a genocide that is taking place. And there's no escape from that. And so in that regard, I think that we're reaching a point now where, as Malcolm said, chickens are coming home to roost. He said that right in Harlem back in 1963, right? Because it's clear that we're ripping off the veil. All the talk about human rights, international law, all the talks about liberty, and we see what? Criminality. Lies, hiding, crimes. And the American people need to be respected enough to tell the truth that our taxpayers' money is going into facilitating one of the most vicious genocides that anyone has ever seen in real time. And I say that as someone who would say that about any people.
Do you think that the ICC, based on that, do you think that the ICC should potentially be looking into, criminal investigations or warrants for President Biden?
I think the ICC ought to be morally consistent enough to say anybody who is either denying or facilitating genocide in a fundamental way ought to be within the scope of their jurisdiction.
Including President Biden?
Including anybody. And if that includes Biden, absolutely right. It may not include just Biden. It may include a whole host of others. Harris, Kirby, Sullivan, Austin, Greenfield. We can go right down the line. Now people say, oh, that would turn everything upside down. You don't say. That's what responsibility is. That's what answerability is. That's what serious accountability is.
Right. In this election, we see it every 4 years. Democracy is at stake, democracy is at stake. Well, if democracy is at stake, I mean, the polls show the overwhelming majority of Americans want a ceasefire. It's getting to be, almost Jewish people. So many Jewish people want a ceasefire.
Jewish brothers and sisters have moral choices and strong ethical choices like any other human beings. And many of our precious Jewish brothers and sisters, based on morality and spirituality, understand that genocide is taking place. We need to end the occupation, along with ending the siege, as long as ending the war, and making sure that two peoples can live together with dignity and safety, both Jewish brothers and sisters as well as Palestinian brothers and sisters.
Something I think is really important that, not surprisingly, hasn't gotten a lot of attention in mainstream media. I don't know if you saw this. After Biden announced a pause in sending weapons to Israel, that lasted about 5 minutes, his big donors, including Haim Saban, a billionaire, ardent Zionist. Right. Apparently he has a direct line to the White House because he wrote a letter to Biden's advisor, Steve Ricchetti, senior advisor, Anita Dunn. I won't read you the whole thing, but he said, we, all caps, We, the U.S., in this case you, all caps, Mr. President, have decided to stop sending munitions to Israel to achieve the goal that we, all caps, have set up for Israel and ourselves. He also said, let's not forget that there are more Jewish voters who care about Israel than Muslim voters that care about Hamas. Let me ask you, obviously, you know, that letter to me sounds like an employer talking to his employee. What does that say about our system that a billionaire snaps his finger, fumes at the president, and the president reversed himself very quickly?
Very quickly. Well, it means that too often our political system is a system of legalized bribery and normalized corruption, and the real power figures are in the background. Big money, oligarchs, plutocrats, multi-billionaires dictating what they want. We're seeing this more and more even in our universities as the universities are commodified and corporatized. The big money, raw power dictates who's president, more and more what curriculum looks like, more and more what the culture of the university looks like. This is what happens when you get commodification and militarization on steroids together. And I tell you, when I was with the precious students at Columbia who were engaged in peaceful protests, and the police came in, it looked like a fascist state. It looked precisely like a fascist state.
And reporting has shown that New York City Mayor Eric Adams got some messages from other wealthy people telling him, send in the police.
Oh yeah, you see, this is the way we got to fight back in a serious way. We got to be consistent and recognize that the corporate duopoly is two wings of the same bird, and recognize that we've got to mobilize folk so they can straighten their backs up. It's not just supporting a campaign. As you know, my campaign has always been just a moment in a movement of a great tradition that for me begins on the chocolate side of town. It's the black freedom struggle. That's why I started in Mississippi. That's why I'm here in Harlem. But in the legacy of Martin King and Malcolm X and Fannie Lou Hamer and Ella Baker, we embrace all persons, oppressed people struggling for freedom, dignity, honesty, and most importantly, empowering the least of these. I'm going to throw in the 25th chapter of Matthew, though, brother, because I got my revolutionary Christian sensibility.
One more, because I know you got to start this. Bottom line, the media is, you know, they're fixated on Trump's trial, obviously what's going on in Gaza. Not a lot of focus on what you talk about a lot, poverty. Homelessness was up 12% last year. Right now, people are spending 11% of their income on groceries. 62% of America live paycheck to paycheck, but I keep being told the economy is great. You're going around the country, not just in this campaign, you've been going around for years. What is the state of our strong economy when homelessness is up 12% and all these other economic markers?
Brother, when you scrape beneath the statistics and see the actual shuddering, struggling human beings, fellow citizens, dealing with the organized greed at the top, manipulated by institutionalized hatred, the neo-fascist Trump himself, and then the genocide denier, genocide enabler, war criminal Biden, that's the choice? My God, we've got to do better than that. We will do better than that. And the next 6 months, brother, thoroughly unpredictable. For me, I just got to make sure that I keep the love and the justice at the center of it rather than hatred and revenge. That's just being true to my own people, my own West household, Shiloh Baptist Church, Martin Luther King Jr., and that's who I am. But I come out swinging, and I want to tell the truth, and I want to seek justice, beginning with poor folk, mass incarcerated folk, underemployed folk, miseducated folk, folk who have been overlooked given this celebration of wealth at the very moment in which you're seeing escalating poverty.
And you're on now 7 ballots, including North Carolina.
You heard about that?
Yeah, North Carolina. Tell people, because obviously people are debating on the left between Dr. Stein and Dr. West in swing states. A lot of people don't know if you'll be on the ballot. Where do things stand with you getting on a ballot in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin?
Very much on the move, though, brother. We are going to be on at least 40-some ballots by October and trying to get all of them by November. And we're on the move. You're absolutely right about North Carolina. That's why we're here in New York. This is part of the efforts. There is an awakening taking place, but it's a global awakening. You say, I'm running for president in order to tell the truth about poor and working people here and around the world, dismantle the empire here, to actually democratize rather than commodify, demilitarize, be it the border, be it schools, be it our communities. That seems to me the best hope that we have, but it's transnational. This is an international movement, and it's very important to keep that in mind.
What would you say to people about right now, RFK Jr. among independents has the highest polls? Seems to me he's very flexible in his policies. Today he said that he was going to go after Wall Street, but he in the past has said, I'm a champion of the free market. Do you think RFK is kind of a fraud, or what should people know?
I wouldn't call him a fraud, though. I would just say that right now the fundamental litmus test is genocide in Gaza. Now, of course, you got the genocide taking place in Congo. That's real. The deaths taking place in Sudan. That's real. But the litmus test in the world is Gaza. And when he says Palestinians are the most pampered people in the world, I say, RFK Jr., you have thoroughly failed the moral litmus test, and I think more and more people are discovering that it's his name that they're attracted to. And once they find out what he's really standing for, they're going to look in other places, my brother. And it's up to each and every candidate to make their case. And that's what I'm trying to do. Constant, consistent, thorough in my looking at the world through the lens of those Frantz Fanon call the wretched of the earth.
And would you challenge RFK and Dr. Stein to debate so we could have a three-way debate among independents?
Dialogue. I'm a blues man and a jazz man all at the same time. So I'm open for dialogue. I'm open for polyphonic voices. I'm open for exchange, conversation across the board. No doubt about that.
And you believe you're going to be on 40 state ballots by October?
By October, and we hope to even follow through. But so much is going to happen within the next 4 to 6 months, man. And that includes Chicago and Milwaukee. But I salute you, brother, because you are always on the case, my brother.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You really are.
Good luck. Thanks.
I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely.